I'd been dating Marcus for 6 months when he invited me to Thanksgiving with his family. It seemed like a natural next step, meeting the parents, seeing where he grew up. His family lived about 2 hours outside the city, in one of those old colonial houses surrounded by trees. The kind of place that looks charming in daylight but feels isolated once the sun goes down. When we pulled into the driveway that Thursday afternoon, I noticed there were no other houses visible through the woods. Just his family's property stretching back into dense forest. Marcus had told me his family was traditional. Big dinners, everyone contributes a dish, lots of old family recipes. He made it sound warm and inviting. But when we walked through the front door, the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. No music, no laughter, no sound of cooking. Just silence. His mother greeted us in the foyer. She was tall, thin, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She hugged Marcus first, then turned to me and held both my hands in hers for just a moment too long. "We're so glad you could join us," she said. "It's been a while since we've had a guest." The rest of the family filtered in slowly. His father, his aunt, his grandmother, 2 cousins I hadn't heard about before. Everyone was polite. Too polite. The kind of politeness that feels rehearsed. They asked me questions about school, about my family, about how Marcus and I met. But every answer I gave was met with the same measured smile and a slight nod, like they were checking boxes on some invisible list. Dinner was set for 6 o'clock. The dining room table was massive, stretched out with enough chairs for at least 15 people, even though there were only 8 of us. The centerpiece was elaborate: candles, dried flowers, gourds arranged in a specific pattern that looked almost ceremonial. I tried to help in the kitchen, but Marcus's mother waved me away. "You're our guest," she said firmly. "Just relax." So I sat in the living room with Marcus and his father, trying to make small talk while his father stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Not hostile, just assessing. Like he was trying to figure something out. When dinner was finally ready, we all took our seats. The food looked incredible. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, everything you'd expect. But as the dishes were passed around, I started noticing something strange. Everyone was serving themselves, placing food on their plates, but no one was actually eating. They were cutting their food, moving it around with their forks, bringing it close to their mouths, but never actually taking a bite. I thought maybe they were waiting for everyone to be served first. Some families do that. But even after all the plates were full, no one ate. Marcus caught my eye and gave me a small smile, then looked down at his plate. I waited, unsure of what to do. Finally, Marcus's grandmother stood up. She was the oldest person at the table, probably in her 80s, with sharp eyes and a voice that cut through the silence like a knife. "Before we begin," she said, "we have a family tradition. Every Thanksgiving we share a special dessert. It's been passed down for generations. Everyone must have a piece. No exceptions." She gestured to Marcus's aunt, who disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a pie. It looked normal enough: lattice crust, dark filling, probably some kind of berry. She cut it into exact slices and placed one on everyone's plate before we'd even touched the main course. "Eat the pie first," the grandmother said. It wasn't a suggestion. I looked at Marcus. He was staring at his slice, jaw tight. I leaned over and whispered, "Is this normal?" He didn't answer. I picked up my fork and cut into the pie. The filling was dark, almost black, with a smell I couldn't quite place. Sweet, but with something bitter underneath. I took a small bite. The taste hit me immediately. Something was wrong. It wasn't just bitter, it was medicinal. Chemical. I forced myself to swallow and set my fork down. That's when I noticed. No one else was eating their pie either. They were all watching me. Marcus's mother smiled. "How is it?" "It's different," I said carefully. "Finish it," the grandmother said. I looked around the table. Every single person was staring at me, forks in hand, waiting. I took another bite, smaller this time, and tried to swallow. But this time I couldn't. The taste was overwhelming. I spit it into my napkin as discreetly as I could. The grandmother's expression changed. Her smile disappeared. She didn't eat it. Marcus grabbed my arm. Not gently. His fingers dug into my wrist. "You have to eat it," he said quietly. "It's tradition." I pulled my arm away. "What's in this?" No one answered. Marcus's father stood up. "Every year we welcome someone new to the table. And every year they join the family. Permanently." My heart was pounding. I stood up, nearly knocking my chair over. "I need to use the bathroom." Marcus's mother stood as well. Of course. Down the hall, second door on the right. I walked as calmly as I could, even though every instinct was screaming at me to run. I found the bathroom, locked the door behind me, and immediately looked for a window. There was one, small but big enough. I unlocked it and pushed it open. Cold air rushed in. I could hear them talking in the dining room. Voices rising. "She's not coming back," someone said. "We can't let her leave," Marcus replied. I didn't wait to hear more. I climbed through the window and dropped into the bushes below. It was almost dark now, and the forest around the house felt endless. I ran toward where I thought the driveway was, pulling out my phone. No signal. I kept running. Behind me, I heard the front door open. Voices calling my name. Footsteps. I made it to the main road after what felt like forever, flagged down a passing car, and begged them to call the police. I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. The police went to the house later that night. What they found, I only learned about weeks later through a detective's report. There were things in the basement. Remains. People who had been guests at previous Thanksgivings. The pie had been laced with sedatives. Strong ones. Enough to make someone compliant. Enough to make them not fight back. Marcus and his family were arrested. Turns out this had been going on for years. The tradition was real. But it wasn't about family. It was about something far darker. I was lucky. I didn't eat enough of the pie for it to affect me. The others hadn't been so lucky. I still don't know what Marcus saw in me that made him think I'd be a good target. Maybe he thought I'd be easy to control. Maybe he was just following orders from his family. I'll never know, and I'm grateful for that. Being alone on Thanksgiving wasn't something I planned. My family lived 8 hours away, and between work and finals coming up, I couldn't justify the trip for just a few days. So I stayed in my apartment near campus, figuring I'd study, order takeout, and keep it low-key. That plan lasted until about 7 o'clock on Thanksgiving evening when someone knocked on my door. It was my neighbor from across the hall. An older man, probably in his 70s, who I'd seen maybe 3 or 4 times since I moved in over the summer. We'd exchanged polite nods in the hallway, but we'd never actually spoken. He was holding a dish towel and wearing an apron, and he had this concerned look on his face. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, "but I noticed you've been home all day and I just wanted to check. Are you spending Thanksgiving alone?" I told him that my family was too far away to visit. He shook his head. "That's no way to spend the holiday. I've cooked way too much food for just myself. Why don't you come over and join me? I hate eating alone." I hesitated. I didn't really know this guy, but he seemed harmless, and honestly, the idea of sitting in my apartment eating instant ramen while everyone else was celebrating felt pretty depressing. So I agreed. His apartment was directly across from mine, and when he opened the door, the smell of roasted turkey and stuffing hit me immediately. It looked like he'd gone all out. The dining table was set for 6 people, even though it was just the 2 of us. Candles, nice plates, cloth napkins, the whole setup. "You really did cook a lot," I said. "Old habits," he replied. "I used to host big dinners when my wife was alive. Now it's just me, but I still cook like she's here." That should have made me feel sympathetic. Instead, it made me uneasy. Something about the way he said it felt off. We sat down at the table, and he insisted I sit in a specific chair. Not at the head of the table, but to the right of it, in what he called the guest of honor seat. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just sat down. He brought out the food: turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, green beans. It all looked incredible. But as he served the plates, he started talking to the empty chairs. "Margaret always loved the stuffing," he said, looking at the chair to his left. "She'd eat 2 helpings before anyone else even started." I froze. Margaret, his dead wife. He turned to another empty chair. "And David, you never liked cranberry sauce, did you? Always pushed it to the side of your plate." I tried to laugh it off. "Do you, do this every year?" He looked at me like I'd said something strange. "Of course. They're still here. They never left." The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I set my fork down. "I think maybe I should go." His expression changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. "You can't go. We haven't finished dinner." "I'm really not that hungry," I said, standing up. He stood too, faster than I expected for someone his age. "Sit down. I appreciate the invite, but I really need to get back to studying." "Sit down." I backed toward the door. He moved to block me, and that's when I saw it. On the counter next to the stove was a large carving knife, and he was already reaching for it. I didn't think. I just grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy ceramic serving dish, and threw it at him. It hit him in the shoulder, and he stumbled back just enough for me to get past him. I ran for the door, yanked it open, and sprinted to my apartment. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely get my key in the lock. I called the police the second I was inside. They came within 10 minutes. When they knocked on his door, he answered calmly, still wearing the apron, and invited them in like nothing had happened. But when they searched the apartment, they found things. Polaroid photos. Dozens of them. Pictures of people sitting at that same dining table. Young people. Students. People who looked like me. Some of the photos were dated, going back years. And then they checked the basement. I didn't get all the details, but I know they found remains. 3 bodies. All college students who had lived in the building at different times. All of them had gone missing around Thanksgiving. The police told me later that he'd done this before. He'd invite people over, people who were alone, people who wouldn't be missed right away. He'd drug the food, and once they were unconscious, he'd kill them. He kept them in the basement because, according to him, they were part of the family now. He called it tradition. Filling the empty seats at his table. I moved out of that building the next week. I couldn't stay there, couldn't walk past that door, couldn't stop thinking about how close I came to being another photo on his wall. I was lucky. I got out. The others didn't. If you enjoyed these stories, hit that like button and subscribe for more horror content every week. Drop a comment and tell me which one disturbed you more. The girlfriend who barely escaped the family tradition, or the student who almost became part of a killer's Thanksgiving dinner. And if you've ever had a creepy Thanksgiving experience, I want to hear about it. Share your story in the comments below. Thanks for watching and stay safe this holiday season.